Hi, Armand here with the story on Jupiter and Sagittarius in 2018 and 2019. Not like 2007, 2018, 2019. We're going to start with a few generalizations before we get into every sign. And that makes a lot of sense because it's Jupiter and Sagittarius, so generalizations are very appropriate. 2018 was kind of a year of stops and starts, a 3 steps forward, 2 steps backward kind of year. That's in part because of the sort of unusual retrogrades, the not every year retrogrades of Mars and Venus, and also because Uranus and Chiron, while they retrograde for a good part of every year, got into new signs and then back into old signs. So there's kind of like revisiting the past type of thing, and we actually starting with the year with Chiron at the end of Pisces was a little bit difficult anyway in 2018. So Jupiter in Sagittarius, a much more forward-looking, much more positive, much more faith in the future type of energy, and that just is true for all of us. That's just the general weather for all of us. There's a downside to that because it is in fact for all of us. It's wonderful to have this kind of positive faith in the future, faith in yourself, faith in what you believe in type of attitude, but it affects everybody just about equally. So that, it's great if you're coming from a heartfelt, deeply centered, wonderful place. If you're kind of an asshole, you're also going to feel like, hey, wow, I really got the world at my fingertips and stuff like that. So there is this kind of negative side to it. I would say that, it's going to lead to some people being more blustery, getting up on their soapboxes. It's going to get people to be a little bit more verbose at times. It is going to perhaps, one of the things that Sagittarius can do is to polarize. So polarization, as if we didn't have enough of that, might increase with Jupiter and Sagittarius. And again, though, but it comes from this sort of like, we can do it, optimism type of thing, which goes to everybody. A couple of caveats about Jupiter and Sagittarius, or a couple of caveats about Jupiter and how it applies, how they apply to Jupiter and Sagittarius. Jupiter requires that you pay attention, usually. There's Jupiter gives you an opportunity, but you have to pick up on it. A lot of times people have Jupiter transits going on and, they're looking for a new job and they overhear at a party somebody saying that their company is looking for somebody and you think, oh wow, that would be a good job or something like that. But you don't connect the dots. That won't be such a problem with Jupiter and Sagittarius. Jupiter should be pretty loud in his own home sign of Sagittarius. So that's a big bonus for us. Jupiter transits always require a little bit of work, however. They're what I call bread maker transits. Jupiter in the 90s, you'd give somebody a bread maker as a present, and if you all you had to do was sort of open up this big thing, this big box, and you pour in a mix or a cup of flour and some yeast or something like that, and throw some water in, set the timer, and you'd wake up the next morning to the smell of a loaf of bread being baked, and you could have fresh, hot bread for breakfast. It was a marvelous way to gain 5 or 10 pounds over the course of a couple of months, if that's what you were looking for. Anyway, the thing about the bread maker as a gift, though, is it's a gift, but you have to actually do something. You have to, make the bread every night. You have to put the ingredients in and set the timer and so on. And that's kind of the way Jupiter works. You want to win the lottery, you should buy the ticket. If you don't buy the ticket and you find it on the street, and you still got to go home and watch and see if it's the winning number. So there's always something that's required. That's not Jupiter's fault. It's not Jupiter's fault. That's down to us. We have to do things. If the opportunity is there, if the possibility is there, we have to do something in order to make it real. That's not Jupiter's fault. That's just down to us. That's just the way things work. Jupiter kind of inflates things and makes them look a little bit bigger than they probably really are. That's part of having that faith, hope, and optimism in things. That is part of having the faith, hope, and optimism. Things have to look good. If they don't look good, if they don't look excellent, You know, if that thing that you want doesn't look so nice and shiny in the box and it doesn't look so wonderful, you know, you're not going to get it. You know, you've got to be a little enticed into things. So Jupiter gives a little bit less, or sometimes a lot of bit less than he promises. That will be not as much of a problem with Jupiter in Sagittarius as, let's say, Jupiter in Scorpio. Um, it will still be proportional, but he'll promise more, so you'll get more. So that end of things is pretty good. And finally, the last sort of caveat thing to have in mind is that the good news, the positive stuff that Jupiter brings, is relative. You know, like let's say, for example, if Jupiter's in your 10th house, and that would be something that might be really good for career. Well, in a good economy, that might mean a promotion or a raise. In a bad economy, that same bit of luck might mean that you don't get laid off when the layoffs come around. So things are kind of relative. Jupiter in Sagittarius, again, should be pretty good, but it has to be relative to everything else. And with Saturn and Pluto and Capricorn and Uranus and Taurus, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on, so everything is relative. Okay, let's talk about each sign. The thing about each sign is it works for your sun sign and it works for your ascendant sign. I feel, because I don't use whole sign houses, I feel that sun sign probably works best, but especially works best with Jupiter in Sagittarius. So look for your ascendant, look for your sun sign, but I would put a little bit, for this one, I would put a little bit more emphasis on the sun sign than the ascendant sign. If you want to go nuts, I don't know why you'd want to go nuts, but if you want to go nuts, you can look at your moon and I suppose your Venus or anything else you want. But I think sun sign, pay attention to ascendant sign, and we're good to go. All right, we're going to start off with Jupiter in Sagittarius. We'll talk about Sagittarius first. Sagittarians, you get a nice bit of good news with Jupiter in Sagittarius. It just applies to everything in your life. You know, 2015 was a really tough year for you guys. You had Saturn in your sign, while your ruler Jupiter was in detriment in Virgo. Tough year for, and I'm not saying that Sagittarius isn't as good as anybody else at taking the hard times, but you guys were kind of suffering for it. This year makes up for it. Now you've got Jupiter in your sign. It's a general get out of jail free card, but let's be clear. I'm not telling you that you'll get out of jail free. I don't want any complaints. But it is sort of a lucky, in every area of life, just apply it well, optimism, things feel good, you have that can-do attitude, it's just a good thing. Moving on to Capricorn. Capricorn, this is going to be a little bit tricky for you. The way it plays out for Capricorn is kind of like the unseen helper. It can be the thing that works out for you just when things seem to be going a little bit wrong. You get a little bit of a boost, but you're not really quite sure where it came from. You might pay a lot of attention to dreams, and you might pay attention to psychic experiences and things like that. I think that that's an important thing for Capricorn this year. You might also like going on retreat. I would suggest for Capricorn a mountain retreat might be nice. A little time away, a little time alone could be really good for you guys. You got a lot going on in your sign this year and next year. So if you can get a little bit of time away and Jupiter's going to help you out with that, I would take it. Aquarius, flat out, a wonderful, wonderful transit for Aquarius. All other things being equal for you. This will help you in terms of things like social networking, actual networking, like work networking, connecting with others. It'll be great for anything you do with social media or things like that. It's very good for finding friends and other people who are on your same page, who share your ideals. And that's a big Aquarian thing. It is just generally a very, very helpful transit for Aquarius. You guys have a great year. There you go. Pisces. With Pisces, I think that career is the area that is going to get the biggest boost. It's going to be a bit of an opportunity period in career. It could also mean that there is a lot of stuff to do, a lot of responsibilities, perhaps, but I think mostly just a lot of work, a lot of tasks to do. A little bit of multitasking might be required for a good part of the year for Pisces. With Neptune in your sign, you may not feel entirely inclined to do that, to tell you the truth. And with some aspects of work being under a bit of stress, I think that it could be, a little bit challenging in some ways. On the other hand, if you're looking for a new job, if you're thinking that you want to make a career transition or something like that, Pisces, you got some good energy, you got some good wind at your back. Aries. It's great for educational opportunities for Aries. It is wonderful for exploration and travel. And if education sounds a little bit, it's not exciting enough for you, then look at it as exploration. Look at it as, looking into different worldviews and philosophies on the one hand. Go into new restaurants if you want to be that way about it. Your Aries, you probably have some Taurus in your chart too, right? Very, very much a time of going out, doing experimenting, of trying things, new stuff, learning about things, exploring. Just exploring. It is a pretty wonderful energy for Aries. You guys also enjoy yourselves. Taurus. Well, you'll get the general good juju of Jupiter in Sagittarius. You'll get that just like everybody else does. It's going to be a little bit less obvious for you, but I think that it is something that you can, actually it'll be a little bit like everybody else's Jupiter in Scorpio year. There could be a little self-exploration, that kind of getting in touch with your own feelings and so on. I know it doesn't sound great, but on the other hand, it doesn't sound exciting. But on the other hand, you do have Uranus coming into your sign this year. He's going to start working his way through the sign in earnest this year, so you'll have enough excitement, and you may need a little therapy. It should be very good if you do need to get a loan or financing or something like that, but be careful not to overextend yourself. That jovial tendency to overdo things and promise more than you get, if it relates to finances, could be significant. Gemini. I think it comes mostly in the area of relationship. It would be great for personal relationships, and just as Jupiter gets into Sagittarius less than a month later, we have a full moon at 0 degrees of Gemini, which again sort of highlights the dynamic between Sagittarius and Gemini, partnership stuff. Could make for partnerships. I mean, certainly romantic partnerships come to mind, but on the other hand, also too, business partnerships. It could even be a little bit of an opponent type of thing that might happen. And sometimes that is a helpful type of dynamic for people. But think about it in terms of partnership mostly. Think about it as a good year for partnership. Gemini. Cancer is another sign that is going to be hit a little obliquely by Jupiter in Sagittarius. It's not again, you get the general gist of things still works for you, but it's not really a sign that you relate to all that well. The area of work and health, the areas of work and health, are two that might really be sort of good for you to delve into this year. Again, that could mean a lot of work. Jupiter in your house of work could mean just a lot of work. It expands what it touches. It could be a lot of work. It could also, though, be new work opportunities. In terms of health, think about it as an opportunity to improve your health. Jupiter in Sagittarius could mean a little bit of weight gain for any of us, but it would be a time for you to, let's say, for example, start an exercise program, do something that is healthful. We're not talking about illness, we're talking about health. And so that's a big opportunity for Cancer. Again, it's a little oblique, it's a little bit less obvious than for some of the other signs, and I apologize, but what am I supposed to do? Leo, hey! Romance, creativity, fun, It's a nice energy for Leo, and I hope you make the most. I hope we make the most of it. It really is a very helpful type of thing for you. It's in your fifth house, which is the Leonine house, and that is where we feel a lot of energy for doing those things that we love, where our passion is. So the way to make the most of Jupiter in Sagittarius is to follow your passion. Follow things that are creative, that are exciting, that really just get you riled up. That's the way to go with Jupiter in Sagittarius. And he's helping you to make this work. Metaphorically helping you to make this work. It really is a nice energy for you. Virgo. Oh, Virgo. It's nice energy, Virgo. It's good. It's great for home, house, and family types of things. So if you wanted to renovate your house, if you're thinking about buying a house, if you want to concentrate more on family, it should be great for, like, let's say, the holidays and things like that. That's really nice energy, right? You get that kind of home family stuff really, really benefits. So that's a very big positive thing for Virgo. Libra. Libra, it's a little bit tough for you guys too. It's actually very easy energy. It's beneficial. It's just beneficial in a sort of subtle way. It's great for your everyday routine. It's good for making, connections in the neighborhood. It's good for finding a good place to shop. It's good for just everyday types of things. I say this a lot, but we don't make a lot out of everyday stuff. We like the big, exciting stuff. But we spend most of our time in the everyday. We spend most of the time, going to pick up the dry cleaning or, shopping and stuff like that. We spend most of our time in the everyday, the basic environment that we're in. So it's a very positive thing to have that going well. You might get a longer commute, but on the other hand, you might buy a nicer car. Might be inclined to buy a big car. Think about that. I don't know if I really recommend it, but it's a kind of thing where things like that would get a benefit. Should also be easier to communicate and talk and to share some ideas and things like that as well. It'd be great if you wanted to do some writing. Libras should do some writing if they're inclined. And Scorpio. Well, after a year of having Jupiter in your sign, I'd like to know what you thought. If you're a Scorpio or Scorpio rising, if you would like write a short little comment, a couple of lines maybe down below, saying what you think of the past year. It would be interesting. It seemed like it was beneficial in many ways, but I think it was a pretty challenging year as well. This year, though, Jupiter is going into your house of finances. It doesn't mean, again, everything is relative. It doesn't mean you're going to win the lottery type of thing, but it should be a very helpful energy in terms of finances. So look for good opportunities to make money. Look for good opportunities to invest, to save money. Jupiter in Sagittarius should help you to save money. And let's be honest, Jupiter in Sagittarius will probably find ways to help you spend your money as well. All right, that's the skinny for each sign. I hope you enjoy this. If you've listened all the way through to this point, you can hit like and you can subscribe. And if not, well, then I'm not talking to you.